Okay, thanks everyone for attending today. My name is David Van Hucklem. I'll be your host for today's session. Let's go ahead and get started. So, a little bit about Krow software. Krow provides next generation professional services automation that is easy to use, easy to deploy, and built 100% native on the Salesforce platform. Our services automation platform is powerful and flexible and scales to the needs and meets any size of organization. So we offer a complete platform for services automation, eliminating the need for siloed, disparate solutions to manage your services business. Everything from managing your customers and your accounts and contacts through to managing services proposals, quotes and statement of works, project and task management, resource planning and staffing, time and expense management, through to project accounting, billing and invoicing for your services, through to revenue recognition, customer communities, through to status reports, dashboards, and analytics, all built native on the industry's leading cloud platform from Salesforce. Krow PSA delivers an intuitive user experience that's easy to use and adopt. It's optimized for Salesforce Lightning, although it also supports Salesforce Classic as well. And by the way, you don't need to be a Salesforce customer to use Krow, although there are additional benefits for those that use Salesforce to manage their sales and CRM as well. Krow also delivers a strong partner ecosystem of seamless integrations to both financials and productivity applications out of the box. They're all real time, web based integrations. They are delivered with the license of the product. They are not licensed separately, so you have all of these integrations available to you when you utilize Krow, such as financial applications like Sage and QuickBooks, NetSuite, Xero, Accounting Seed, through to productivity applications including Jira, Zendesk, Slack, of course, native on Salesforce as well as Google. And we'll be introducing additional integrations this month to other CRM applications, including HubSpot and Pipedrive. And customers across the globe, high growth firms are choosing Krow to manage their services business. Various industries, whether it be professional services, IT consulting, management consulting, agencies such as digital agencies or marketing agencies, accounting firms, healthcare organizations, as well as construction organizations, whether it be a 5 employee company or thousands of employees, organizations, again, around the globe are managing their services business with Krow. Of course, you don't have to take our word for it. We've got some great customer satisfaction and reviews that you can see on the Salesforce App Exchange, where you can also sign up for a free trial of Krow, as well as G2 Crowd. And with that, let's go ahead and see a live product demonstration of Krow Professional Services Automation. So I'm just going to switch over to my demo environment. And hopefully everyone can see that in front of them. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start off. I've logged in. I'm logged in. I'm starting from a dashboard, so I can immediately from a dashboard get insight into my services business. And of course, these dashboards are completely configurable. You can create as many dashboards and dashboards components and reports as you desire and require within your services business. So I've started off from this dashboard called the services dashboard, and here I put some specific dashboard components for me managing my service organization. So immediately I can see what's my revenue summary look like for this year versus previous years. Here I can see how much we've invoiced, what was our expected revenue this year, how much we've recognized to date from a revenue recognition perspective, what was our baseline revenue. If I switch gears and look at this here, I can see what's my supply and demand by role, and I can navigate right to this month. and see, as an example, looks like we have negative availability of project managers. We're overscheduled. Might need to look at supply, whether it be partners, new hires, and so forth. And here I can look at other roles and see we do have some capacity available, and I can drill down into where we have capacity and how we can fill that capacity. Projects by status, utilization information such as by resource, by role. And then I could drill down into project-specific information, like what's my overall task by status, what are my top projects from a billings perspective, what's the average hour spent per project, how much have we invoiced this period, and what's my current services margin. So looks like we've made 50,000. At least we're not negative. We've got a little bit of margin on our projects right now. Our profitability is positive, and I can, and of course, view that in more detail and look at where profitability is coming from, and maybe there's opportunity to create more revenue, more profitability. And then, of course, I can also see projects by margin and what projects and how much money we're making by margin amount or profitability. And I can, again, click and drill down into additional detail on that. So that's an example of a services dashboard. I'll take a look at one more. Let's look at the project health dashboard. And here, maybe as a project manager or resource manager, I can get insight into projects by status, overdue tasks by project, timesheets that are pending approval, tasks by status, overdue tasks by resource or by individual, issues by project, risks by project, expenses pending approval. Again, immediate insight, real-time insight, and of course, I can click and drill down into the details of this and see the underlying information. And take the appropriate next step. So as soon as I log in, I can get immediate real-time insight into the state of my services business. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to start off from the My Projects page here. And this is where, again, as a project manager, as a consultant, I can manage all of my projects that I have association to or have visibility into. So here I can see a list of my active projects and which customer they're associated to, what percentage of complete is it, what's the project status, what's the burn rate currently of this particular project. And now I can just click into this project and start managing that project. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is, if you can see here, this project client implementation that I'm going to look at soon is associated to this customer of Acme Corporation. And if I just click on to that customer, it's going to drill down now into the specific account or customer information. For those that are familiar or a customer of Salesforce, this is the Salesforce account, which of course you get access to with Krow as well, even if you're a non-Salesforce customer. But here I can see my account information, all of the contacts for this account, and if you're a Salesforce user, the opportunities, the cases with this account. But of course now with Krow, I can get that complete visibility of my customer, not only from a sales perspective, but also from a service delivery perspective. So sales and service delivery all in one system. So here I can see the projects ongoing for this particular account, such as I have one in pipeline, one in progress, one is at risk. As a sales rep, I might be looking to upsell this specific customer, so maybe I want to take a look at that at-risk project and see what's going on before I reach out to this prospect for an additional opportunity. I can see my services proposals, my services contracts, and so forth. And of course, if I just click into one of those projects right from here, right from the account or opportunity in Salesforce, I can get all of the information related to any particular project that you can see here. Again, revenue summary information, how much we've invoiced, recognized to date, baseline revenue, and so forth for this particular project, how much time we've spent, billable and total for this particular project. And then I can continue to drill down into all of the information based on my security within the organization, such as project assignments and tasks and timesheets and invoices, risks and purchase orders, and so on and so forth. And of course, at any time, which we'll see in a little bit, I can drill into Krow and start managing that project, the project Gantt, the resource plan, and so forth right from here. But while I'm on this particular project, what I'm going to do is, actually, I'm going to navigate to a particular services proposal that we have for this particular project. So what Krow delivers as well as project management, of course, is even before the project has been started in the opportunity stage, you can create services proposals, statement of works, contracts. Of course, when the project has turned into an active state, if you will. But here what I'm showing is the proposal that we've created, and you can create as many proposals as you want for a particular opportunity. But as you're adding proposal lines, whether it be role-based resources and hours and rates and or fixed fee items, licenses, whatever it may be, the system is building up a proposal and it's tracking what the margin is for that particular proposal as you're building up the proposal, so you can immediately see what the expected margin is and the expected revenue or cost is in real time as you're building that particular proposal. And as you can see here, I can add products from opportunity product line items for those familiar with Salesforce. I can import in proposal lines from a project, so I can use a project or project template as a starting point for my proposal. I can also sync back to the project, so once this particular proposal has been accepted, any changes I made to the proposal, I can sync right back to the project that's going to be the active project on the ongoing project for this client once they've gotten started. And then what we'll see in a moment is I can also create a project or create a contract directly from this proposal once it's accepted, depending on how I'm using proposals within Krow. But what I can also do is I can generate a proposal. So here what I'm going to show, actually I'm just going to navigate over here and I'm going to go ahead and click Generate Proposal. And Krow delivers pre-built integration with Conga. And for those that use Conga, you can use it right away, or if you license Conga, it is already integrated, pre-integrated with Krow, so that services proposal, statement of works, and so forth can be automatically generated from Krow, and specifically in this example from services proposal. You can create as many templates as you want to suit your business requirements for creating services proposals. So if I click on this proposal here, and I'm just going to look at it in PDF format, and I can preview this. And what it's going to do now, it's going to pull all the information related to my proposal into my statement of work or proposal template. As many templates as you have within your organization, and you can see here it's pulling in data, any and all data, custom data, and so forth that you require within your proposal template, such as cost information, task information and durations, terms and conditions, and so forth. Whatever your business desires or requires as far as generating SOWs or statement of works and proposals can be automatically created from Krow and from our proposals or services proposals. So I'm just going to close that down. Now, if I come back to my proposal, if the statement of work, the client has accepted that, then I can go ahead and automatically create a project if one hasn't been created already, as well as create what we call the services contract. And if I click in on that services contract, it looks similar to the proposal with some very specific differences. Now that this project is active and I can start managing this contract related to this project, again, it's going to keep me in real time up to date on the budget, the margin, and so forth for this proposal as I start billing or entering in time or billing for fixed fee payments or retainers and milestones and things like that. If I have a change request or an additional amendment to that particular contract or project, I can add it here. And again, it's going to start tracking everything related to this project that might be made up of multiple components. So the other thing that I wanted to show here is in this project, in this contract, I actually have 3 billing types related to this one project. In this example, for demonstration purposes, I've added another project here. So here I can see I have this client implementation project. I have a fixed fee component. I have an expense component or budget I want to track against. I also have a time and expense component that might have been a change order or an amendment to this project. And I also have another project associated with this contract just to show that the system supports where you might have an agreement with an account or a customer where it actually is comprised of multiple projects against one particular contract for a client. And even if it was one project, here, as you can see, I might have multiple elements that I'm tracking in billing, in revenue recognition, tracking against one particular project, such as it was originally a fixed fee project. There is a change request, and now this change request or amendment is going to be billed in a time and expense fashion. We also support retainers. And then from a revenue recognition perspective, these are all the same percentage of complete in this example, but I could have different revenue recognition methods per different contract or line items in my project and in my contract. So proposals, contracts, and managing all the elements of contracts and revenue recognition and billing as it relates to my projects. So that's services, proposals, and services contracts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift gears, and let's go back to our project here, the client implementation project that I was looking at earlier. And now what I'm doing is I'm opening up this project, and here is where, as a project manager or consultant, I can start managing this project on a day-to-day basis. So I've accessed this project here. I can see all of my tasks. I can expand all if I have subtasks, and we can support an unlimited level of subtasks and child tasks and so forth, dependent and predecessors. There's no limitation. But here, as I look at my task page, I can see where these tasks are in status, duration, progress, hours burned, who's associated with those particular tasks. And we're going to click in on a task in just a second to look at managing those tasks. I can immediately open up my little embedded analytic here on this project so I can get real-time insight into where are we with respect to percentage of complete of this project hours completion, what's the burn rate of the project, what's the current margin on the project. And this is completely configurable by you as a client, even down to differences from project to project. In one project, you might be calculating margin one way. In another project, you might be calculating percentage complete or margin in another way. And that can be configured by you during the creation of those projects and managing those projects. So as I'm managing my particular tasks, of course, I can create new tasks. I can drag and drop. What I'm going to do now is, if I just click in on a task, it opens up this right-hand panel for me where I can start managing and scheduling resources on this task. You can see I can have multiple resources associated on one task with different dates, hours, percentage of effort, and so forth. Here's where I can also manage activity as it relates to this task, such as checklists and completion of checklists, which might automatically update the task completion percentage. I can also collaborate and reach out to the clients or those as part of the project team here using Chatter within Salesforce or within Krow as part of the collaboration within a project or within a particular task. And as I'm working this task, what I can also do, as you can see here, is I can enter time. So we're going to see the timesheet in a little bit, but you can enter time in a lot of different areas from Krow, and it's all going to consolidate within my timesheet that I'll see later. But here, as I'm working the task, I might want to just add in some time right away as I'm working that particular task, or maybe I just want to start my timer. So I can start my timer and then I can start working on that particular task. If I'm going to break on that task, maybe for break or lunch, or start working on another task, I can pause that and I can come back later, start that timer back up again, and then when I've completed working on that task, I can start my or stop my timer, and it's going to automatically create my time entry for me. And this is completely available from a mobile device as well, for those that want to use a mobile to use the timer or even punch time, as well as entering in time or expense from a mobile device as well. Before we go any further, just to note is that there's a number of ways to enter time within Krow. We'll see timesheets. We saw entering in time from a task. We have something called a global action, where wherever I am in the application, I could be on a contract page, I can be on the customer account page, and I can open up my little pop-up, and here you can see I can enter time right away. Maybe I forgot to enter in that 30-minute of time from earlier today that I was working with a particular client. What I can also do is, if I just switch gears to my email for a moment, we use the Salesforce email plugin as part of Krow. Again, don't need to be a Salesforce customer, which works with both Gmail as well as Microsoft Outlook or 360. But here you can see, as I'm working email, I received an email from a client. Maybe I want to respond to them. I'm doing work in email for a particular client. Now I can open up this right-hand panel, and I can enter time right from here. As I'm working with this email or with this particular client, I don't have to navigate back into Krow in another browser. I can do it right from here. And by the way, part of this functionality is as well is that maybe I'm responding to a client, and this email, I want to make sure it's associated with the project or with the client within Krow. So what I can do right here is I'm just going to choose the account, and I'm going to click on this log button here. And what it's going to do is, when I send this email, it's automatically going to associate this email right back to the project within Krow. And it can be the project, the account, the client, or the contacts, if you will, wherever you want to associate automatically this email directly within Krow. So let's navigate back to my project and managing this project. A few things I can see here. We have something called the timeline. So I'm on this particular project still, client implementation, and I can see a timeline of all of activity that has happened with this particular project, and this is can be reported on. You can create notifications on particular timeline activities that happen, if not all. So here I can see a project note was added. Total logged hours exceeded estimated hours for this particular task, and I can click into the details on this. Task status change, a project assignment was added, project health change, project risk was added, and so forth. So everything in descending order based on what's happened most recent, I can see everything that's going on with this particular project right from my project page. I can add project notes. So I can add and track project notes, make those available to my clients as well directly from Krow. In addition, if I want to collaborate on this project with my client or with my customer, they can have direct access to the project from a community or community license, but also what we've rolled out just recently to our clients is the ability to generate a project status report. So I'll just click on and show you that. So this project status report can be sent to a client, can be emailed to a client, and so forth, and they will get real-time access to a project status report. No login, no license required. The customer will just get access to this project status report just by virtue of a link here. You can see the client, the end customer, if you will, can see where the project is, project completion, hours completion, task completion, where are we with respect to project health, what's the latest project notes that you want to make available to the client, as well as see where we are this week's tasks, last week's tasks, any open issues, any risks, and so on. And again, no license, no login required, just a unique identifier link, and they can get access to a project status report in real time that you can make available to your clients. So back to our project page. Of course, this being a project, you would expect to see a project Gantt chart. So I'm just going to navigate over to my project Gantt chart now, and this is where you're managing in the project in the Gantt chart fashion. Here you can see all of my tasks. I can drag and drop here. I can add more columns on my Gantt, as you see here, whatever you would like to add to your Gantt chart, and then I can save that later. I can create a baseline or baseline snapshots immediately for this particular project. I can even export this to PDF, to PNG, to Microsoft Project. We can also import in projects from Microsoft Project. And actually on the project homepage, you can also download the project to an Excel or CSV file and share that with the client. And it's configurable as well as to what columns, if you wish, to make available to clients as well. But here on my project Gantt chart, I can manage tasks, add new tasks. So here you can see I have dependencies, predecessors with these tasks. So if I drag out a task, it's automatically going to push out all of my dependent tasks. I can double click here and start managing those tasks just like we saw from the project task page. Scheduling, entering in time, activities, entering in notes right from here as well, managing any predecessors and so forth. Of course, I can just drag and drop as well on my project Gantt page. But one of the new features that we're rolling out this month with our latest release, which I thought I'd show here, is if I just navigate over to this page, one item that our clients are using the project Gantt for is to assign resources to particular tasks. So if I look at this client onboarding task here, and I'll just double click on it like I did before, and I can see I have no resources on this particular task. I might have a placeholder, but now what I want to do is I want to search for available resources right from the project Gantt. It could be from the project task page for this particular task. I can see it's the client onboarding task. It is on June 18th. It's only an hour that I need that day. So I can search for resources. It's automatically going to default in any roles or skills associated with this task. Looks like for the client onboarding task, we do want a project manager on that call. So no particular skills associated. So I can go ahead and just click search. So what the system is going to do automatically is bring back any matches, and I can update my filter to remove filters or add filters, but going to bring me back. I have two project managers here. Looks like they're scheduled on this particular day. Available hours, of course, I'm very overscheduled on this day for this resource. So I've got no available hours on that particular day to assign a project manager to pick up that one particular hour call, if you will. And the system, of course, is looking at the scheduled hours and available hours for these resources across all projects, not just this project that I'm looking at, when it's calculating available hours. And by the way, when it shows available and net available, total available is total available hours across my resources. Net available is including placeholders. So you might have placeholders on in-pipeline projects, as an example, that you want to also take into consideration. You have project manager placeholder hours that you know you're going to need later, so you want to go ahead and represent those as well. So what I can start to do is I can just drag this task out, and you know what? It is on Monday here. If let's just move out this to the previous Monday. And it's going to update in real-time availability. Oh, looks like I do have availability. David and AJ are both available 8 hours that day, so I can go ahead and schedule them. But of course, there would be an impact. I'd have to push out the remaining tasks potentially. So let's go back to the previous Friday. That looks like David's not available, but AJ is available that day. So I can decide just by clicking this plus button to assign AJ to this task now, because he's available on that particular day to pick up that call for this new project. And by the way, if this was a dependent task, I could also see the impact of changing that on all tasks based on availability, and if anyone would become overscheduled based on that. So that is dynamic scheduling at a task level, seeing availability of resources as I'm dragging and dropping these tasks on the Gantt and seeing if there's availability or enough availability for the resources that I'm looking at. All right. So let's go back to my project task page now. And the last thing we'll look at is I'm just going to navigate back to my project page here, is the plan. So I'm going to look at a resource plan just for this particular project. I can see I have resources associated to the project. I have placeholders associated, and now you can also see color-coded based on project assignments. I can actually see actual time entered as well as scheduled time. This is represented by these two rows here. But of course, I have a placeholder that I might want to fulfill, right, and to replace that placeholder. So I can just click on this particular resource here. You can also create resource requests that are sent to a particular resource manager. But in this case, I might have the ability to just search and look for a qualified resource here. So as soon as I click on that resource, that placeholder, what it's going to do is it's showing me for this particular project, I need a consultant for these many hours during this duration with these particular skills. And it's going to default in my filters automatically. And it's filtered and showed me a particular resource that would have potential availability, fit the needs that I'm looking for during the time frame that I'm looking for as well. If I want to remove some of those filters and open up potential available resources, I can do that as well. And I can immediately book a particular resource and replace that placeholder. Or I could also select one or many, and I can compare those resources as well in a little bit more detail, such as what skills and proficiencies do they have, what team, region, practice, location they're associated to, what's their bill rate, cost rate, what's their current available hours and target utilization. I can even reach out to them and so forth, so I can make a more informed decision on staffing of that resource on that project. And I can go ahead and just select book, and it's automatically going to replace that placeholder on the project with the person that I'm booking here, as well as replacing that placeholder on all tasks of that placeholder or actual resource is currently assigned on that project automatically. So that's looking at a resource plan right on that particular project. So I can just navigate back to my project page. So I'm going to switch gears now. We've looked at managing projects as a project manager or consultant in Krow. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to switch over to what's called My Work. So if my projects was top-down, kind of managing projects or project-centric, My Work is what we call bottom-up task management. So as a project manager, or more specifically as a consultant, I might be working on multiple projects at one time. So here I can access the My Work page, and I can see by default in this Kanban format here all of the tasks that I'm currently working on across multiple projects. As you can see here, I can see where these tasks are with respect to some that I haven't started, one I'm working on, priority, complete. This is completely configurable by you. As a user, I can even add custom sections here if I want to add custom sections and move my tasks over to those custom sections. Of course, as you would expect, I can just drag and drop as I'm completing tasks or moving them to different stages. And as we saw on the previous pages as well, wherever I am in the application, I can just click on this task and I can start managing the task. I can collaborate, manage my checklist completion, enter time, and so forth from my work page as well. And if I'm looking for a task, I can just start looking here at a particular path just by entering in, and it's immediately going to start to filter those tasks based on a task that I might be looking for if I have a large number of tasks I'm working, or I can start filtering by show me tasks for today, my team, task by project, and I can look just at my client implementation project tasks, and it's going to filter just those 2 tasks from this project that I'm working on. And a number of different filters by customer and so forth. So this is the Kanban view. Maybe I prefer the due date view. So here I can see what's overdue versus what's due today, this week, next week, and later. I can again continue to click into that task and maybe multi-select and complete tasks, as you can see here, or move them to a different stage. And if this was my preferred view as a user, I can just click this checkbox and set this as my default view. Every time I come back to my work, it's going to start off from this view. And then finally, I can see this from a calendar view as well. So I might want to look at a calendar view of my tasks and again, manage my tasks from a calendar view from the My Work page. So that's the My Work page. It's available from mobile device. For those Salesforce customers, you can synchronize Salesforce tasks along with Krow tasks. And our customers use Krow to manage personal tasks in addition to project-related tasks, so I can get complete visibility into utilization and availability for my resources as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch gears and look at resource planning. So we looked at resource planning at a particular project level, but now I want to look at it holistically and look at where all my resources are with respect to my services organization and my resource plan, as I can see here. So I've navigated to my resource plan. I can see all of my resources here, and I can see if they're over or under scheduled, again, based on their work schedule, target utilization, and so forth that you would set up. And if I drill down into a particular resource such as Alice here, I can see any time off or holidays. We support both time off management, holiday schedules. Any time off or holidays would show here and could impact the resource availability. All of the projects that Alice is currently associated to, I can see the color coding of the status on hover. But if I want to see all of this, these statuses and these color code meetings, I can just click on my palette here and I can see all of the project assignment statuses that we deliver or that you would add to, and you can configure those colors for your business as well. And I can double click on this and I can modify any schedule. I can also just drag and drop, as you can see here, and I can modify or add schedule. Maybe I want to just put them on 50% effort during this time frame. So I can go ahead and just do that as well by simple drag and drop. Taking a minute here. Okay, there we go. And I can see this in various durations, if you will. I'm looking at it by week. I can look at it by month, by day, even by hour. And I can, of course, go back and forward in time. I can even just jump to a particular time using my calendar here. Now, as mentioned, I can immediately see Alice is, of course, overscheduled here. I have some underscheduled resources. I can also manipulate my view here by saying, you know what, anyone 80% and over, I want to consider green in my view. I can just apply that, and it's going to update for me so that I'm looking at a particular tailored view as I'm looking at resource availability and schedule during for my resource plan. And of course, red means overscheduled, so I can go ahead and make the appropriate adjustment that I need to do. And this is schedule time. Maybe I want to look at availability instead of what's scheduled. How many hours are they actually available versus what they're actually scheduled on? So here I can see availability as opposed to schedule time, and then I can make the appropriate adjustments or even add a new project to a resource right from here as well. What I can also do right from my resource plan as well is I can look at utilization. So I'm in December here, starting in this week. I can see for this particular week, time has started to come in, so I can start to see utilization. Of course, here I can see 40 hours already this week for emit. Maybe I want to switch that over to percentages, right? So now I can see in percentage what the utilization is, and I can see emit's already 100% utilized this week, even though we're only in Thursday. And I can see all of those hours came from the sprint project. And then Alice is only 22% utilized. Looks like she's behind, and I can see where these hours have been derived as well. This, of course, is completely available from a reporting perspective, but I can see this in real time right from my dashboard as well. And as mentioned, I can navigate down right to a day perspective if I want to see right down to a day. I'll look at that in hours of where people are scheduled and might have availability as well. And then finally, I have a number of filters available to me, as you can see here as well. One other item that I wanted to show, I'm just going to switch gears over to this particular environment, is another feature that we have is, in addition to color coding on the resource planner, I can proactively see if I'm scheduling resources, and this is going to impact our overall schedule and our overall availability. So what I'm looking at now on this particular view is what's called the schedule view. And the nice thing about this is that I can drill down not only into a project, but also I can drill down one level deeper and see all the tasks that AJ in this example is associated or assigned to in the scheduled time right at a task level from my resource planner as well. And of course, I can just drag and drop up as we saw earlier, and I can add task level time, task level schedule, not only project level schedule. And if I click in on this particular task, I can do scheduling from here as well, as we saw on the previous pages. But then finally, if I want to go ahead and add more time, so I'm going to add more scheduled time for AJ for this particular time period on this particular task, and go ahead and save that, you're going to see it's automatically going to tell me that if I add this time to the schedule for this resource, it's going to exceed the available hours by a certain number of hours. And do I wish to continue? Yes, I'm going to overschedule them during this period of time because I have a valid reason to do so, or no, I don't want to overschedule them as well. And I can see that visually after the fact from a color coding, but here I can configure the system to tell me proactively if they're going to become overscheduled based on all of the projects and task activity that they are working on. So let's continue. I'm managing projects, managing my tasks, my resource planning, and then finally I can, as a resource, enter time. This is my timesheet where I can enter in time. I can add new rows, as you can see here. All of my projects are available to me. Maybe I want to enter time against this particular project. I can add some notes in here. I can add new rows. I can copy from my previous week. I can copy from my schedule to automatically put in my schedule right into my timesheet, so I can just add my hours in. And there's lots of configuration options available from my timesheet. I can even show a variance in where we are with respect to estimated hours versus how much I've entered for a particular task and what's available and so forth. I can add custom fields in here, such as we have customers that will enter time against cases or departments or any other fields that you might want to enter time against. Or I can show the account here. I can also show my schedule of time right underneath my timesheet. So lots of options available to me as I'm entering in time, but then I can go ahead and finally submit that time and go through an approval process for that time before it updates my balances and my project balances and so forth. And then I can start billing for that time, obviously. Timesheets as well is completely available from a mobile device, as well as all the areas that I mentioned earlier about entering in time into the system that eventually will go through that approval process, if there is an approval process that's required within your organization. Once I have all of my time entered, or I'm managing those projects, and it might be retainer based that we support, or fixed fee, installment, whatever it may be, then I can go ahead and generate invoices in batch or on demand for all of the invoices for a particular period. The system can automatically generate invoices based on a period of time that is selected. And here I have my invoices and all my invoice line items, my expenses, any fixed fee items, and so forth. You can see all the details about my invoice here. And then I can preview that invoice. I can email that invoice out. You can see here an example of an invoice. I've decided to put on a summary of the resources and hours on the top of my invoice here. Starting on page 2, the client might want a breakdown of all of the tasks and notes by resource for this particular invoice, and a statement of expenses. I can even include my expense receipts right on this invoice as well. And you may choose to invoice from Krow. You may choose to invoice from your financial application and just integrate, as mentioned earlier, on all of our delivered integrations to various financial systems. You might integrate that data over to the financial system and continue to invoice the client directly from your financial application. That's a choice that you have. At the end of the day, we will generate those billing invoices, whether you decide to actually send the invoice from Krow or not. And then what I can also do here is once I've invoiced the client, if you'd like to report or perform revenue recognition on these projects right from Krow, you can do that as well, where if similar to or back to our discussion around contracts, I can have multiple billing elements or contract elements and the associated revenue recognition elements within one project. So I might have a billing event, a percentage of complete events, and so forth, and I can recognize that revenue and submit that, integrate that to my financial application. Of course, that becomes available to me from a reporting perspective, analytics perspective, as far as how much we've recognized, not only how much we billed, but how much we've recognized from a revenue recognition perspective for all of my client projects as well. And then finally, we started off the demonstration looking at some particular dashboards, but now I'm going to close the demonstration by looking at a few reports that are available. We have got a number of reports and dashboards available out of the box. Of course, you can create your own reports and dashboards on demand with no limitation. But now what I can do is start looking at some reports such as, here's my project forecasting report. So we deliver a forecasting engine where you can forecast and compare forecast versus actual as far into the future as data exists in the system, and you can forecast your revenue. And furthermore, Krow supports multiple different billing types, not only fixed fee and time and expense, but retainers and billing retainers on overage, installments, recurring, milestone-based payments, and so forth. All of that is taken into consideration when we're forecasting revenue, forecasting hours, and then, of course, I can compare that against actual. And this forecasting process will be continually rerun because as time passes, forecast, of course, becomes actual. And here I can, at any time, the system will forecast for me all of the forecasted time, forecasted billing events, retainers, milestone payments, and so forth, so I can compare and review what my forecasted versus actual revenue looks like at any point in time. Let's look at another report, the supply and demand by role report. So here, what this is showing me by time frame here, as an example, looks like I have availability for a consultant. We looked at this report actually at the dashboard at the beginning, but here it's showing me based on what my demand is for projects, and you can determine, do I only want to look at active projects, or do I want to look at pipeline projects that are in opportunity stage too, to look at availability? Here I can see, if I scroll down here, I can see there's actually negative availability because demand is outstripped supply, obviously, in this example here. So I might want to look into the details of what are my options. Do I want to engage a partner? Do I want to hire externally or look internally for resources that might be able to fulfill that capacity? So that's an example of a supply and demand report. We can also look at a similar supply and demand report by FTE or just by resources. And you know what? Let me just filter this and look at it in a little bit different of a way here. So now I can see by month as an example. We're looking at December here. Looks like I've got 10 consultants currently available based on supply and demand. I've got negative on project managers, right? So I've got demand that's outstripped supply. Again, I need to look into the details of that. But of course, I can forecast that supply and demand and the numbers that I might need looking into the future, looking into projects in the project schedule or pipeline of work that's upcoming. And then finally, I'll look at a resource utilization report. So here, maybe I want to look at this one and look at this one this way. So here, a very popular report is I just want to look at all my resources and what their billable utilization is versus their total utilization hours in any particular month. And I can see in a graphical format here, where are we with respect to utilization? And our utilization engine is powerful in the respect that you can base utilization on billable hours. You can take into account holiday hours as well as particular time off hours. So you don't want to impact vacation and billable time, but you do want to take into account other types of time off like sick and so forth into billable hours utilization as well. And you can base billable utilization on a number of different metrics, whether it be billable time, billable versus scheduled time, billable versus target utilization. So as an example, if a standard work week for your resources are 40 hours, you can base utilization on all those 40 hours. Or maybe you want to base target utilization on 80% target utilization for all or specific utilization or resources, excuse me. So that would be 32 hours instead of 40, and the system will calculate utilization based on a target utilization metric that you define. So with that, that concludes today's demonstration of Krow Professional Services Automation. Hopefully that gives you some good insight into the power and features and functionality that Krow delivers to manage your services organization, all the way through from managing your customers and accounts and opportunities through to creating contracts and proposals and generating statement of works, to managing ongoing projects, tasks, resource planning, entering in time and managing time, through to generating billing events, invoicing, to analytics, reporting, revenue recognition, and then, of course, integrating that data to other applications, whether it be financial or productivity applications, all delivered within one integrated solution. So I want to thank everyone for attending today. If you would like to find out more information or reach out to us or even sign up for a free trial of Krow, please reach out to us on our website, www.krowsoftware.com. You can contact us right from there. You can start a free trial right from there, or from the Salesforce App Exchange as well for those Salesforce customers. You can also call us directly at 1-844-GET-KROW. So again, thanks everyone for attending today. Hope to hear from you soon.